Hi all, let's start interview questions on internal table. The first question is, what is a structure? Structure is a combination of different fields, and structure only will be there in dictionary. No such information will be there in database. The structure is only created in dictionary and nothing on database. Like unlike database table, where when we create a database table in dictionary, corresponding table gets created in database, but structure that doesn't happen. Structures are two types: append structure and include structure. Basically, append structure is added at the end of a table, standard table. If we have been asked to add few extra fields to a table, database, standard database table, we only can do append to it. Include can be added at any point of any place in a structured table. Basically, for custom structure, we use include. What is internal table? Internal table is a dynamic memory. Like database table stores the data permanently, internal table stores the data at runtime. When your program runs, it holds the data. When the execution is over, the memory is freed out. The data is there in the main memory, the internal table. There are different types of internal table: standard internal table, sorted internal table, hashed internal table. So all these type of internal table, based on our requirement, we use it in real time and mostly use standard internal table. These three types of internal table have their own features. Based on that, we decide which type of internal table to use. If the data is huge, we generally go for hashed internal table. And if data is less, we can go for standard internal table. Is basically the default internal table is standard internal table. Why you go for hashed? Why you go for sorted? Just to read the data faster. The search algorithm behind makes the declaration of types of internal table. Every sorted internal table, it will binary search will be used. Every standard internal table, linear search will be used. Every hashed internal table, based on the hash key, directly we can read the specific entry in the internal table. The quickest is hashed, and next will be sorted, another will be standard internal table. In the standard internal table, we can use all these statements like append, insert, collect. We can do that, and it's a non-unique key. We can have duplicate entries in the standard internal table. If you have it, when we mention key, the duplicates are allowed, and we can use append, collect, and insert. For sorted internal table, we cannot actually append. So as soon as you try to append, it automatically goes and take a position. Say for example, we are going to add values 1, then 2, then 5, then 4. What happens in sorted? You added 1, it is stored. You added 2, it is stored. You added 5, it is stored. As soon as you add 4, so 4 automatically goes before 5. So the way it is designed, the time you are going to add the record, it gets sorted automatically and placed. In interview, they ask like, can you use append and collect and sorted? Answer is no. We can only use insert statement. Hashed internal table, what happens? We have to read based on hash key. But here also we cannot use append and collect statements. Okay. What method used to pass the records from work area to internal table? Basically, you have one work area having data, and how do you move the data from the work area to internal table? You can use append. Append means adding to the end of the internal table. Insert at any place you want, you can add that record. Collect, when you collect, it gets the numeric values get added based on the non-numeric fields. So whatever may be, all these three ways, we can take data from a work area and add to the internal table. Which method used to pass the records from work area to internal table? We are done. What is the difference between append, collect, and insert? Append, it adds to the end, as simple as that. Insert, to insert a new record, we have to tell the index, which line number we want to insert the record. And collect, it is basically used to sum the numeric values based on comparing the non-numeric values. Basically, summing the numeric values based on the non-numeric key. What are the types of internal table key? Two types of keys. One is implicit key. All characters columns, they together forms that key. Explicit key, if we specifically and the declaration of internal table, when you declare a type and when you declare an internal table using that type, we need to say, these are my keys. Even if you don't give explicit key, SAP automatically assumes or considers all character of type of columns or fields to be creating a key. What's the difference between read table and describe table? Read table is to read a single line from the internal table. However, describe table is used to know how many records that I have in my table. What are the various methods of read table command? Read table command is definitely used to search the record. It can do linear search. It can do binary search. It depends on which type of search you want to do. If you want to do a binary search, it is faster for sure, but ensure that your table is sorted. This is definitely an interview question. Whenever someone asks you, how can I read from an internal table faster? You can say you can use binary search. Then the question will be, what is the prerequisite if you are going to use binary search? Prerequisite is the table should be sorted before using the binary search. Yeah, that's the question. You can see you sort it, whatever the order doesn't matter, ascending or descending. What are different operations you can do on internal table? You can append, add to the end, insert record, whatever may be the position, index, you can collect, you can describe table to know how many records that I have in my internal table. You can modify, you can update, you can delete. So basically, like the CRUD operation we do for database table, like create, read, update, delete. Similarly, for internal table, also we'll be able to do those CRUD operation. Additionally, we have append here. Okay. Which method is to initialize a structure on an internal table? There are different ways we can clean the memory occupied. We can delete the data, clear statement. We can clear the variable or work area. Refresh can be used to delete the data of an internal table. Clear will be able to clear or delete the data from a variable or work area. And refresh is used to delete the data from the internal table. Free is used to free the memory. So the memory is released. Even if clear and refresh, they delete the data, but it does not free up the memory. Wherever the free statement does free up the memory, that means memory is released to the pool. What are the aggregate functions in select query? Aggregate functions are minimum, maximum, mean, max, average, sum. Those are the aggregate functions. What is the difference between key and index? Key is used to maintain the uniqueness, but index does not help to maintain the uniqueness and helps to improve the performance of select queries. Basically, this talks about a database table. And this also sometimes comes in interview. When you attend the interview, they ask like, one of my select query is taking a long time while from a database table. And I know in my database table, there is a huge number of records. What I can do? The answer is you can create a secondary index. The table will have already have the primary key. Okay. Primary key gives the uniqueness of a record. Even that we are getting the retrieval late. So we create a secondary index. Secondary index improves the performance. How do I know the number of records in a table? We already explained this. Describe table statement gives to you the number of records in the internal table. What are the difference between site avix and site index? Site avix is an internal table record counter. Basically, the record number, whenever you loop at internal table into work area, we get to know which row current iteration is considering the row number is filled in system variable site avix. However, the index is the loop counter. Site index is the loop counter. As I explained, most of the time, site index and site avix will have same value. However, site avix may differ sometime if you are doing any modification operation. If you are deleting any row from internal table while looping inside the loop, if you delete any record, the site avix will be less than site index. Site index doesn't bother about the table entry, just the iteration counter, how many iterations made. Site avix is the current row number counter. After a read statement, what will be the value of size hours? It depends. If the value is 0, then the read statement was successful. If the value is non-zero, then the read statement was not successful. So, can I write join for pool and cluster table? Cluster and pool tables, they're not same like transparent tables. They cannot be converted to OpenSQL and processed directly as RT system imposes restrictions. Joins that include cluster and pool tables are decomposed and processed using above nested join logic. Ideally, for pool and cluster table, we sometimes use function models to get the results back. We do not write select queries. What are the prerequisites for all entries? Before we know the prerequisite for all entries, we need to know why we need to use for all entries. Suppose you want to get data from two database tables, you can go ahead, do a join, be it inner join or outer join. If you join multiple database tables, you can get data from multiple tables. However, if you want to, you have an internal table with some data and you want to join or connect the internal table with the database table and get the columns, then you use for all entries. Before using for all entries, check the internal table is not empty. What will happen if the internal table is empty? If the internal table is empty, there is no use of for all entries because it will populate all the records from the database table. It is as if you write or do not write, does not make any difference. What is parallel cursor technique? Performance improvement is one of the key considerations and often asked in interview. Whenever we have nested loop, to avoid nested loop, we can use parallel cursor. Basically, it is not like both the loops will be removed. Instead of the nested loop, the inside loop will not be looping all the records from particular index. So we'll have the initial loop, and the next loop will run from particular index to particular index, rather than uh, looping the entire set of records. So in short, parallel cursor is one of the technique to improve performance of program. Whenever we have nested loops, this is the best to go for parallel cursor. The logic is the where condition that is used in inner loops. We can avoid that. We cannot avoid that, but yeah, correct. Where condition will avoid with index, from index. So in short, in parallel cursor, the inner loop where condition we replace with from index. So no need to get confused. It is not going to remove any of the loops. If you have nested loops will be there, but inner loop where condition will be removed with from index and to index. What is the difference between for all entries and joins? I already explained. Okay, joins happen at the database level because database tables get connected, but for all entries is connecting between a database table and internal table. That's all about interview questions and internal table. Next slide, we'll be discussing interview questions and report programming.